What's up, Active Lifers? Welcome back to the Active Life Podcast. I'm Dr. Sean Pastuch. I'm your host. And today we're going to talk about last week's episode with my guest, ProPath gym owner, BJ McKay. BJ owns a gym that enrolled in ProPath back in, I want to say, December. I believe it was December. And the reason that he enrolled was because his coaches effectively thrusted it upon him. They said that they wanted this education. They wanted to be able to level up their skill set. And they had thought that we were a place where they could learn how to do that. So he paid attention to his coaches and, like any good leader, followed. In enrolling in ProPath, what BJ learned about his team was that they are really able to level up in very significant ways. They set a revenue goal when they first started that he thought would take them about 6 months, and they hit it in 4. He really wants to be able to provide careers for his staff members in his gym because he doesn't need the gym. The guy runs a very successful business that he works in full time. He's 90% in this other business doing leadership consulting for big businesses, Fortune 100, Fortune 500. He said his sweet spot really is businesses of 1,000 to 2,500 employees in the Midwest. And he goes in and provides leadership support to the executive team. So he doesn't need the gym to make money for him to be financially sound. He needs the gym to make money so that the coaches who work there can have careers and so that he can run a business that provides a high level of service to the clients who come. BJ came out to Long Island to film the podcast that he was on because he felt like we would have a better conversation if we spent time in person. That's the kind of guy that he is. And what I hope that you took away from last week's podcast was the value of strong leadership in any business, especially in a fitness business. And I'm going to touch on 2 points in particular that BJ and I discussed on our podcast that I believe are valuable for you to take home, especially if you're a gym owner. The first one is BJ talked about the idea of the unintentional aspect of being an intimidating presence when you own the business to the staff who work in the business. This is something that I have a lot of experience doing by accident over the years that I've had to learn how to avoid and intentionally act in such a way that I avoid it at all costs. When you think about the term intimidating, it can oftentimes get considered from the perspective of physical intimidation, like a scary physical presence. And that's not at all what BJ was implying when he talked about me being an intimidating presence on the last call or him being an intimidating presence in his gym for his staff and his members. What he was talking about was the idea that it can be uneasy for other people around when the owner of a business is in the room making requests, leading the team, doing whatever have you. And it was important. It's one of the things that we discussed. It's important to understand that when you own a business, when you're the leader of a team, there is no such thing as a request and there is no such thing as a favor. If you ask somebody, would you do me a favor and get this done by tomorrow? It's not a favor. That's a demand. If you ask a question like, hey, it would be super cool if we could do this. What do you think? Could we get that done? Many staff members are not going to take that as a question. They're going to take that as a demand. And a really easy way to burn your staff out is to ask favors. It's to make requests. When you're the leader of a team, it's imperative that you're really careful with your word selection, that you are clear when you're asking for something to be done, that you are clear about how you want something to be done, that you are clear about what the value of doing that thing is for the business and for the individual you're asking to do it, and that you're clear about what doing that thing well looks like. It's very easy for business owners to believe that everybody in their business cares. All the coaches on their staff care, and all the coaches on their staff are doing their best. And to then say, that's all that's asked of them. But that's not all that's asked of them. And they know that it's not all that they ask of themselves. So what ends up happening when that becomes the standard is that the coaches in the gym start asking themselves, am I doing a good job? How do I know if I'm doing a good job? I don't know if I'm doing a good job. Am I doing a good job? And when you don't know if you're doing a good job, but you're working very hard, that's where burnout starts to come from. It's uncomfortable. It's not fun. And it leaves people with anxiety unnecessarily all the time. So understanding what success looks like is a very key thing for any business owner to be able to provide to any staff member. And requests and favors and things like that, they veer off the course of success. They make it hard for people to understand if it's part of their job or if they're just doing it on the side for you or if it benefits the thing that they're judged on and all of that. And so the first lesson that I hope you took from the call that I did with BJ last week was have a standard for what success looks like. Are we doing a good job? Are we not doing a good job? How do we know? And when you're asking people to do things, they should be things that are outlined within their job description that move the business towards the goal of what has been agreed upon by everybody on staff. If you want to change something, and business owners have the free will to change something, it's reasonable that they would want to change something. It's important that you bring everybody in on what the change is, why we're making this change, how this change affects them, how this change affects the business, how this change affects the members who come to the business. That's what BJ meant when he described being an intimidating presence as a business owner. It's the propensity to see that whole picture for yourself and fail to share it with everybody else. When you have that picture for yourself and you fail to share it with everybody else, what ends up happening is everybody else is left to kind of try to figure out how this affects them, which causes anxiety. And anxiety is something that people don't want, and it's intimidating to think about having it. So the lesson there, be clear, be concise, and make sure everybody knows what's in it for them, what it's going to cost them, and how it's going to work, and what success looks like when they're doing it. The second lesson that I want you to take home from the meeting I had with BJ was always make your lowest level promise. Promise your worst experience. And then anybody who has an experience above that is going to find themselves very happy with what they're getting for what they're paying. So when BJ brought that up, I asked him, what do you mean by worst experience though? Because there was a moment in BJ's membership with Active Life where we dropped the ball on accountability and we weren't following up with him and his team the way that we are set up to. It was just think of it like a clerical error that affected the way he was delivered to. And he complained about it appropriately. I acknowledged, yeah, we made a mistake. We're going to fix it. And we did. And he's very happy. He's a very happy client. Is that what we're supposed to promise? Because that, to me, like that's the worst experience, right? You pay for something and you don't get it for 2 months. That's a pretty bad experience. He's like, no. That's not the description of the worst experience. That's outside of the experience that's appropriate, which is why we had to rectify things with him in that case. What he was describing was you need to be able to sell people process. You need to be able to sell people a consistent experience that they're going to have every single time that they are a client of yours, whether they end up working with this coach or signed up in February or signed up in August. It needs to be, this is the product experience that you can expect to have every single time. So running a gym, let me give it to you really simply what that would look like in a gym setting. We have classes that run on specific times. Every member is going to go through one-on-one coaching before they're able to access those classes. Most members choose to do one-on-one training after they complete their requisite one-on-one training in order to get into the classes because they find it valuable to continue to gain more and more competence and confidence in different movements, in different pain thresholds, all kinds of different things that we know you're going to experience. If it's uncomfortable, for example, for you to do this exercise today, but we believe that this exercise is valuable for you, you might consider it painful today, and you might not do it if not under the guidance of a coach. But if the coach understands that you should do this exercise, it's safe, it's even necessary for you to do it without pain one day, to do it right now with some of that discomfort that you're experiencing, well, then that coaching is extremely valuable and important. And that's part of the process. We're going to teach you that. We're going to provide you that education. We're going to provide you that service. This is a part of the minimum process. Another part of the minimum process is you're always going to get coached when you come to the gym. You're never going to come in and work out on your own. Another part of the minimum process in a gym, like yours perhaps, if you're not an Active Life client, could be you are going to get a call from a coach every 2 months to ensure that you're making progress towards your goal. Another part of the process could be we have goal setting seminars every quarter, and we encourage you to attend. They're not mandatory. They don't charge anything extra, but you are welcome to attend, and we encourage you to do so. If those things are examples of what you offer in your gym that everybody has access to, you can promise people that. You can promise them a safe exercise environment that's going to be assessment guided, that's going to be accompanied by one-on-one personal training sessions to make sure they have competence and confidence before they step onto the gym floor, that you're going to have check-ins with them every 2 months, and every 3 months is going to be a goal-setting seminar. That's the minimum promise that everybody in the gym is going to get. You're not promising them they're going to lose 20 pounds, 40 pounds, 50 pounds. You're not promising them they're going to be jacked for summer. You're not promising to add 5 inches to their vertical. You're promising that this process is in place and will be in place no matter what. That's the least that we can promise you. So that's what we're going to promise. That's what he was talking about. Now, do you have those in place? As you're listening to this, can you think about 3 things that go in your process that you can promise to everybody that they are going to get? Write them down. What are the 3 things in your process that everybody is going to get that are the minimum promise? Do you have them? I'll give you the examples for what we do at Active Life. The minimum promise is that you are going to have a mentor who works. If you're a gym owner, let me back up a second. If you're a gym owner who decides to enroll and work with Active Life and be a part of our Pro Path, the minimum promise is that you are going to have a mentor who works at Active Life full time. Their entire career is working at Active Life, and their job is to ensure your success. You're going to meet with them a minimum of bi-weekly. Promise number 1. Promise number 2, all of the coaches in your gym are going to go through ongoing coach development. I take that back. Up to 5 of the coaches in your gym, 5, are going to go through ongoing coach development that we sell to the general public for $10,000 a head. All 5 of your coaches get it. And in it, they get a private mentor. Both your coaches and you are also going to get access to subject matter experts who specialize in specific aspects of what we do at Active Life to help gym owners improve. For example, there's a subject matter expert who runs sales meetings. Every week, there is a sales meeting in which you can improve on your sales skills through drilling, role-playing, question asking, and educating from our staff. We have a call every week to talk about the numbers in your business, to understand the finances of what's going on in your business. You have access to that every week. We have a call every week to discuss vision. Where is your gym going? How are the relationships? What do you need to improve upon? How do you overcome that minimizing thought? We have a call every week to discuss retention strategy. What is your retention right now? How are you improving it? What did you do last week that worked? Last month that worked? We have a call about business administration every week. How are you running your business? What are your strategies? How is your staff being incentivized? What does your schedule look like? Personal schedule. These are the things that we do that we can promise at an absolute minimum. We don't promise that we're going to boost your personal training sales so that they match your group revenue right now. So if your gym is doing $20,000 a month in group revenue, we don't promise that we're going to make you $20,000 a month in personal training. We just expect it's going to happen. That happens all the time, but we don't promise it. We don't promise that you're going to be able to increase your membership rate from under $160 a month to over $225. It happens all the time, but we're not going to promise it. We don't promise the outcomes of the process. We promise the process because that's the minimum thing that we can promise. You own a gym. You work in a gym. You work in a business that has nothing to do with the gym. I want you to think about your business right now. What is the minimum promise that you can make? Imagine your world if that's the only thing that you promised to everybody who you work with. And then people started getting the results that you get for people. How happy would your clients be? How many fewer conversations around disgruntlement would you have to have with clients who are not getting what they think they were promised? And it's okay. It doesn't matter what business you own, what business you work in. People complain. You can own a 3-star Michelin restaurant. People are complaining that your salad was too wilted. What is the minimum promise that you can make? Our conversation was fairly diverse around leadership, and I encourage you to go back and listen to it if you haven't already, because it was really good insight to how both BJ and I think about business. And his gym is one that I'm really excited for the future of because of the leadership that he brings to it. And because of the leadership that he empowers the staff who work there to bring to it. He's just as good of a follower as he is a leader. So that's what it takes to be successful. I wanted to leave you with those 2 lessons because I wanted to keep it simple. I wanted to keep it short. I wanted to keep it as something that you could go ahead and apply right away. I hope this is valuable. Turn pro. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Active Life Podcast. Remember, if you feel inspired by our vision to humanize the healthcare industry, professionalize the fitness industry, and empower individuals to live their lives, to reclaim their physical freedom, to develop careers, helping people reclaim their physical freedom. All you need to do is head to activelifeprofessional.com, find the appropriate link that represents you, and get in contact. We'll see you there. Turn pro.